Yo,
Yeah.
yo, goosebumps on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you got the goosebumps.
You gotta go through the salt to get to the sugar, man. Chase. All right.
You gotta go through the salt to get to the sugar, fam. And people don't want the salt. They're like, it's too salty. They just want the sugar.
Man.
But through the salt, the pain is where you find purpose, because you're on the other side of the pain, fam.
Bro, that
Your
was
true
deep.
self. He dropped some fire. Shout out to Kevin Samuels.
No doubt.
You changed my life, bro. You put on the actual mindset that I needed to get me to the next level, and I share it with everybody. And it's not a race, it's not a sexist thing or a sexual orientation thing. It's a mindset,
Right.
and he's thorough with his info. He researches his info, and
Right.
he shares his knowledge. And he has a he does that just for free, but then he has a separate account for people who want to pay for
Right.
one-on-one coaching. And like, if you pay, then you pay attention.
Ooh, say that again.
So if you pay, then you pay attention. If you put the money down, the investment is there. Now you have to follow up. So some people are like, oh, $500 an hour or $10,000 for coaching, that's a lot. But the people who recognize that, if I put down the 10 or the 1,000 or the 500 or the whatever it is, I am going to learn much more than I invest. The return is higher. That's a true hustler. A person who's a complainer or a average thinker, they're going to be like, it costs too much for me to make this investment. But what they're really saying is, I don't believe in myself enough to bet on myself.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. They're not seeing the value. They're
Yes,
only
sir.
seeing the cost.
Yes, sir.
And as you said, if you understand who you are and you believe that you're going to take the most out of this opportunity, then $500 is going to be nothing to you,
Nothing.
because you're going to flip that, grow that, build that, right? And especially if you're taking the mindset that you're going to look at someone who's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps ahead,
Yeah.
they're going to fast track that for you. So what you're going to
Absolutely.
save is not even just the cost in terms of monetary value, it's the time,
Yes.
which is the one thing we can't get back. So that's what you're paying for.
100%. And always remember this. Whether you make a choice to do it or you make a choice not to do it, it's still a choice.
Absolutely. Everything you do, whether you choose to do it or don't do it, you're making a choice one way or the other, 100%.
So with that being said, let's start the episode.
We are back, episode 6, the mindset effect. So it's great to be back to everyone, to share with you, to inspire you again. I don't want to start off with this. We've got 2 questions for you.
Break it down.
Have you ever been in the valley in between 2 mountains and you know that you're going to make it to the top, but you just have to kind of go through that hard time in the valley first? Have you ever had a life-changing experience that made sure that you had to dig deeper? My name is Leighton Watson, Soul Strong L Dub to my left.
It's JM Jamal Miles, Cogent Appliances.
Hey, so we're happy to have you here. We want to acknowledge that you've taken the time out of your day to listen, to be inspired, to be encouraged, to be a better version of yourself. And today, what we want to give to you is inspiration. We want to make sure that if you're going through something, you've been in the valley, you've been in the dark place, the sunken place, whatever you want to call it, right? That you understand that it's part of the process.
Yes.
It's a necessary part of development to get back to the top. So we want you to be inspired, we want you to learn, and we want to give you some ideas and thoughts and practices that can help you get to that next level, right? So I promise it's going to be fun.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have a good time.
Yes, sir.
Just come with an open mind, and we promise you're going to benefit from everything that we share today.
100%. The mindset effect. Let's get it going.
I wanted to kind of kick it off thinking about a story. So from my own background, from my own childhood. So, for those of you who know me, I was born in Jamaica and grew up in the UK, right? And, our family, we moved to the UK because we wanted a better opportunity, right? I think a lot of people move towards Canada, the US, the UK. They want a better opportunity.
Yep.
And so today we're talking a little bit about the valley, right? The hard times. And I remember growing up as a kid, and it's funny, you don't even really appreciate it until you're older. But I remember my mom going to what we call Dorster Market, all right? And she would go there and she would buy fish heads. Now, if you're a kid, Nobody wants the fish head, right? You look at the eyes is in there. Sometimes it looks like the tongue is in there. Nobody wants to have that, right?
Yeah.
So my mom would go and she would buy the fish heads because they're cheap.
Yeah.
Right? We're new to England. We don't have a whole lot of money. My dad's trying to find ways to make ends meet. And so she goes and she says she buys fish heads. And she would scrape the meat out of the fish heads and mix that with rice so we could eat.
100.
Now, as a kid, that's just dinner.
Yeah.
But it just talks about the struggle, right? Like we had to scrape the bottom of the barrel to make sure that you could make ends meet. But I tell you what, once we got to the point where we're eating the full chicken,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We're eating the full fish, right? We've moved from bully beef and rice
Yes.
to beef and rice.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean?
No bully.
No bully, no more bullies in there. You know what I mean? The appreciation is different, right? And you know, you kind of feel like even now as an adult, when my wife and I, we moved into an apartment,
Yes.
and we weren't earning a huge amount, and we had to kind of find ways to, you know, take the cheaper cuts of meat, right? The no frills value version of whatever, right? Doesn't quite taste the same. It looks like some of the stuff is filled with sawdust,
Yeah.
right? But just to fill it out so you can eat and feel whole. But when you get to the stage now when you don't have to do that, there's an appreciation there.
100%.
And so if you're going through that, one of the things I want to kind of emphasize is that stuff builds character. There was never a time when we felt that this was it. Right? It was always, this is a temporary situation.
Yeah.
And we're going through this. We're going to have to struggle through this because at some point, we're going to have a better situation.
Absolutely.
Right? There's going to be extra gravy on the rice, right? That cut of meat doesn't have to get bun up, right? It can have a little juice in there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But until that time, we're going to make the most of this situation and develop character.
Levels. And 100% I agree, because at that stage, you're in the survival stage. When you're in the survival stage, you're doing what you have to do to survive. Feed yourself, shelter yourself. You have your basic necessities, electricity, lighting, heating. You're working. You maybe have enough money to take the bus or the train, or you have one car, enough gas to get home safely, to work safely. You know, your insurance, you're just hitting all your base level targets. That's the survival stage.
Yep.
At that stage, you have to use the time you have efficiently and effectively. And you learn character.
You learn character, man.
Build your character.
Yeah, man. You know, I see this thing on TikTok. My wife loves it, man.
Yes.
This lady, she says, sometimes you have to be by yourself and just build. You know what I mean? You just have to build. You know, I want just self-reflection, like understanding, like,
Yeah.
I'm here right now. I need
Yes.
to grow, right? And sometimes you have to just take it in.
Yeah, and you know, when I was younger, I used to love to be in my room where I can just build up myself, read, learn, think about life, where I want to be, visualize. And that's what helped me get through some of the most difficult times, because I knew the origin of where I came from. I understood that I had a purpose, and the people who give me the confidence or the compliments improved my character and gave me discipline and meaning.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
When you are, and if you can go back to that time, when you're in your room, maybe it's listening to music, writing down, thinking things through. Like, what was your vision of your future while you're going through that time of introspection? Like, how did you kind of foresee what your future would look like?
I honestly, I looked up to people like Jay-Z, Denzel Washington, Oprah Winfrey. Barack Obama wasn't out yet. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. 27 years on Robben Island, brethren.
Talk the talk.
And he actually was able to envision himself getting out and having a life after being in hell. Robben Island was hell. Rectal cavity check daily. He was in I think a 8x8 cell. They didn't have, it was winter in Robben Island. They gave them shorts to wear. This is in a cell, brethren. So if he can do all those things, come out with no malice and hatred in his heart, and then become president, what was my excuse? I talked to my mom. My mother came here to Canada in 1968 with $300 and a suitcase and didn't know where she was going.
Wow.
She saw somebody from her village at the airport and they're like, "Oh, hey, nice to see you. Where are you staying?" I think it, and she said, I don't know. I don't know where I'm staying." And he said, "What do you mean you don't know where you're staying? You're not, no one's coming to get you?" And she's like, "No." And he goes, "Oh my God, you can, okay, so come stay with me because I'm coming to pick up somebody. You can stay with me and you can sleep in the kids' bed." And like in the kids' room, they had a 2-bedroom apartment. So my mom said she went, thank God that he was there because she just came to Canada. My grandfather just sent her. And she said that she cried herself to sleep the whole night.
Bro, I need to ask you about that there. Because you think about, there's two things happening at the same time.
Yeah.
One is there's this, I guess, this fear from her perspective. She's here in a new country and she's doesn't know what she's doing. At the same time, there's almost like this providence and purpose that came together, that somebody was there to make sure she had a place to sleep.
It's God, 100%.
Taking that risk and stepping out. And as you said, like, you're in a place right now where it can seem like the valley, right? So she's in the valley, so to speak, at that moment, right?
Yes.
New country, cold, right? She probably
Winter.
She never experienced snow before, right? New place, all of this sort of stuff, right? But at the same time, this is the beginning of a journey that leads us to, even today, you're here. Do you know what I mean?
That's my legacy, fam. Mm-hmm.
That's it, man. So there was this providence that was also kind of working in her life all the way through that process.
And she believed in herself, she believed in improvement, and she knew she was here with a purpose. She can't go back. So once you cross the bridge, burn the bridge, because if you leave space to go back, you're going back into your former self. And sometimes regression can actually lead to death.
No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. I think they would say there was this, I guess the idea is about burning the boats.
Yes.
So if anybody's never heard that idea before, burning the boats basically means you're going to go take an island. Yeah. You're going to capture a village.
Yes.
When you get off those boats, you burn them. And why do you burn them? You burn them because if you have the boats to go back to, you won't fight as hard.
100%.
You know what I mean? But when you know it's literally life or death, there isn't two other options there.
No.
There's this clarity of mind that comes through, right?
100%.
Right? There's this clarity of thought, and you focus on a solution. Like, I'm going to take this island. I can't swim back to where I came from.
Yeah.
The boats are gone.
Yeah.
And these people don't want to give up their land.
Yeah.
So I got to take it.
You got to take it. And don't forget, going to wherever you're going by sea, it takes weeks.
Yeah, months even.
And dudes are getting scurvy, getting sick, dying. So when you get there, you're fighting with a different type of purpose.
And intensity.
And intensity and intention. Now, where this is a metaphor, but if you're going for something, you have to think within yourself, am I even capable of this risk?
Right.
When I get into a situation of an obstacle or adversity, are you going to be the one to actually give up? Some people just lose it and they say, I can't do this, it's too difficult. Or can you push through that?
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Because, definitely in our experience, you're a person who's been through and challenged adversity. Yeah. Like, why do some people have doubts like that? Like, when they're in a difficult situation, what is it about the situation that makes them doubt their ability?
They doubt their confidence in themselves. They have self-doubt and self-respect. If you don't have those two things, it's over. Mm-hmm. Muhammad Ali, the greatest fighter, I believe, in my personal opinion, greatest boxer ever for the next 1,000 years, and there'll never be anyone like him. He would actually get into your head before he even steps in the ring. Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan.
Yep.
Michael Jordan was famously known for just walking into the team's locker room, looking at everybody in their eyes and walking out and just steal their soul before he even gets on the court, because he knows the power of self-doubt. And if you are thinking that you're just going to walk into a different environment just because you're Steve or I'm Jamal or I'm Leighton or whoever it is, and you don't know your competition, you're already at a disadvantage.
Man, And you know what? In our last episode, so you haven't checked it out. I think it was episode 2 or episode 3.
Yes.
One of the things that I mentioned was competence produces confidence.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, if you're in a situation where you are not feeling confident, you have self-doubt, then one of the ways in which you can elevate that level of confidence is to develop your skill.
Absolutely.
Right? Develop your competence in that area, and that will help to elevate your confidence. And you use Muhammad Ali and you use Michael Jordan as examples. One of the things that those guys are notorious for, including the Kobe Bryants, for those who know Kobe's my guy, right? When it comes to ball,
for sure,
is also extreme work ethic,
practice,
experience, right? Yes, and that helped to develop their skill, which helped to develop their confidence. So when they looked a man in the eye, what they were looking at was not just the fact that it's another man.
Yes,
it's looking in your eye and saying, I know you see me, and you know, and I know that I've outworked you already. I've already beaten you based on the work I've put in.
100%.
So I'm confident because I know you're nowhere near where I am in my skill.
Absolutely.
You haven't perfected your craft the way that I have. And so that is one of the ways in which, even where, once again, we're in the valley and we're looking up, it means that we can still put in the work, because it's the work that's going to help to develop the confidence, which is going to allow us to feel good to walk up the mountain.
Absolutely. Absolutely, my friend. And you know what? I was previously diagnosed with MS, which is multiple sclerosis. It's not 100% diagnosis, but my symptoms are consistent with that actual outcome or result. So that's why if you notice, I'm burping a lot, because the steroids makes me burp. So 7 years ago, May 2015, I was in a critical accident. It almost took my life. That entire experience made me stronger than I was before. So now I'm 7 years later, I'm in another situation where I'm in a lot of pain. And I just came home from the hospital yesterday, Friday night. Today is Sunday morning. And it made me believe that I wouldn't be able to do any of these things without trusting in God. That's the first thing. 2 is trusting in myself and my abilities. 3, knowing what I'm capable of. And similar to what Leighton was saying, anybody you look up to or watch on TV, if you find yourself watching stuff on Instagram or YouTube or Netflix or whoever you look up to, the reason why you're watching them is because this person is a professional and they know themselves. So when they get on the stage or go to work, or they go to the store or wherever they're doing, they're so familiar in who they are, you can't outdo them in being them.
Right.
So when you say, why do people doubt themselves, is because they haven't spent enough time on getting to know themselves.
Talk the talk, fam.
Yes, fam. And I had to get to know myself in order to know what I'm capable of. And if I can survive my motorcycle accident, learn to walk again, go back to work, get my licenses, be on over 100 billboards in Canada for the biggest company in Canada, and after all of that, then go through another thing with being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which a lot of people, it crumbles them, fam. Then I know I can do anything. And once you know you can do anything, there's nobody who can stop me except myself and my own limitations of my thoughts.
Bruv. For anybody listening, this is a moment to take that in, right? With all of the opportunities for this man to make an excuse and to say, you know what, it's okay if I stop right here, if I don't continue the journey, right? To say, you know what, it's okay if I just take this and focus on myself. Still pushing, still grinding, still has a vision and a goal and hasn't slowed down. And so, I want to kind of ask you this one. I guess, what is it that you feel gives you that drive to not make excuses? Because you've never been that guy, but even more so now, when you have every reason to. Why don't you just give yourself an excuse and give yourself an out?
That's a great question, brother. Like you told me this morning, the 3 things. Tell me the 3 things you told me this morning. The formula.
So, when it comes to the questions that we ask ourselves, we want to know, where we come from, why we're here, and where we're going. and they're surrounded around origin, purpose and meaning, and destiny.
So the origin, I did my DNA test on 23andMe. Shout out to my niece, Courtney. She told me over dinner one day what the requirements are for 23andMe. I immediately did my DNA test. It shows you everything, like your where you come from. In Africa, we're Nigerian from Congo, and Ghanaian, and Togo. And I'm also 33% Scandinavian, which is like Finland, Swedish, Italian, and 2% Filipino. Also Native American. So I'm mixed. So once I learned that, then I was able to understand where I come from. As far as what's my excuse, because I'm in pain. I could easily be in bed right now, relaxing, fireplace, watching TV, relaxing. Still in pain, but I'm relaxing. My grandfather has done so much. Both of them, my dad's dad and my mom's dad, have done so much. Like my grandfather, my mom's dad was a legend. Couldn't read. Was a fisherman. He became, he went further and further away from the land, and then found his way to another island. So Dominica is in, I believe, Eastern Caribbean, just south of Antigua and Guadeloupe and Martinique, I believe, just roughly speaking. He went from one island to the next in a rowboat, fam.
That's built different, man.
Built different in the 40s and 50s. And then he was going back and forth. One day he met a guy from France. He had a motor in his boat. And he goes, "What is that?" And the guy explained it to him. My grandfather's a hustler, so he did what he did. He ended up getting a motor in the boat, and that changed the game. He became an importer, exporter of, like, you get old used furniture from the Europeans, fix it up, and then resell it in Dominica and vice versa. Then he started to do rum. When he got into the rum, it was a wrap. With that, he used the money to pay for all my aunts and uncle and my mom for them to go to school. So they went to top-notch school. He couldn't read, but he'd ask them, "What did you get in class?" And they'd say, "Oh, we got 80 or 90. And he'd then go to one of the other people who can read and be like, "Read the report card to me." And then he'd go, "You're lying, you got 60. You need to get..." So he's common sense. But his standards were so high that I can't shoot for anything less, fam. I cannot. And my mom's story, coming here with $300 and working her way all the way up to where she's a retired nurse. Now my dad working 60 hours a week, 100% commission for 41 years. I have no excuse, fam. So that's what it comes down to. I know who I am. I know where I come from. I know what I want, but I also I'm not scared to work. I'm not scared to fail. And I know if you fail, you don't really fail. You get the lesson on how to do it better. So if you're going to lose, I don't mind losing, but I'm not a loser. I don't give up. I just learn to lose better. And as you raise your standards, losing for me may be winning for somebody else. So at the end of the day, as long as I keep raising my standards and increasing my effort, I'll always win.
Bro, once again, man, if you're paying attention, take that story in. When you have an idea of what you come from, that's a huge game changer, man.
Yeah.
Like as you say, you're talking about your grandfather there. That's the same blood running through your veins. And
Absolutely.
It's because of that you says, like, I can't be any less.
Yeah.
I have a different standard.
Yeah.
So for anybody listen to this, if you want to talk practicality, especially if you're a black man or a black woman, and a lot of our history that's taught to us starts with slavery.
Yes.
Right? Which is not our starting point historically at all. Okay?
Yeah.
You heard Jamal break down where he's from in different parts. So maybe one of the most practical things that you can do is start to find out about your history.
Yeah.
Find out about whether it's your family history
Yeah.
or the group or the tribe or the environment, community that you're from, because you'll hear the stories of the people in those environments that gonna inspire you and show you who you really are.
Yes.
Right? And I mean, that's big. You come from an entrepreneur, somebody who has not just common sense, but I would even argue that it's uncommon sense.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? It's uncommon sense,
Straight
right?
up.
Special. It's like, I need to figure out a way to make sure that my kids are not lying to me because they probably don't want to get the belt.
Yeah.
So I got to make sure that I understand exactly what's on the paper, even though I can't read.
Genius.
You know what I mean? And that's what you come from. And so therefore, you're not making any excuses, even in your environment, your situation at the time.
Yeah.
And so that's big respect from me. And I'm hoping for everybody that listens to that you're inspired by that story.
100%, fam. And you can do anything you put your mind to. It's just, what is the limitations you're putting on your mind? What scares you the most? What are you having a difficult time getting through? Have you looked into getting professional help, talking to a professional like a therapist? What is your relationship with your parents? What is your relationship with your siblings? What is your relationship with yourself?
That's a big one.
Self-talk. Do you talk positively to yourself? Are you experiencing negative self-talk? Or do you look at setbacks and failure as a bad thing? Or do you look at it as a way to grow?
Bro, I wanna dig into something there that you mentioned. What is your relationship with yourself?
Absolutely.
Like when you look in the mirror, what conversation do you have with yourself? Right? I mean, in life, there's so many of us who are, in certain situations, not completely honest with ourselves and not honest with others, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it's really hard to be honest with others when you can't be honest with yourself. I would maybe argue it's even impossible because what you're communicating to others isn't your authentic self.
Absolutely.
Because you haven't communicated to yourself authentically.
Absolutely.
Right? So that conversation that you have with yourself, in reference to when you were growing up, that time in your room by yourself, contemplating, thinking, is the foundation to knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Knowing where your strengths are, knowing where your weaknesses are, what you need to do better, what you want from life.
Yeah.
And if you want something and you don't judge yourself for it.
Yes.
I think this is also something that is important. I grew up in a religious and strict household.
Yes.
Right? And for many of those things, I'm eternally thankful and grateful for. But it doesn't mean that everything that you're taught, you agree with.
Yeah, it's true.
And so at some point in all of our lives, we have to do a self-audit and say, am I living and doing the things that I want to do or the things that are imposed upon me?
Yes.
And so by having that deep conversation with ourselves and saying, you know what? The reason I believe this is because I haven't actually thought it through. I haven't actually asked myself the deep question. And I remember one time, so we're kicking back a little story here for you guys.
Story time.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yes, sir.
I remember one day I was, so I went to a Christian school to do my degree.
Yes.
And I had all these questions, right? And things that I had assumed were just part of faith was stuff that was being questioned, right? We were asking questions about things that you just sit there and you listen on the pulpit each and every day and you think, oh, this is how it is. And now it was coming into question. And at one point, I made a decision and I says, you know what? I'm not going another day to church if I am not certain whether this belief is mine or inherited. And, everybody around me, by all means, they prayed and they, oh my gosh, Leighton's apostate now and this and that, right? Oh no, we need to form the prayer circle, splash the holy water, right? All of that sort of stuff. But I had to say to myself, nah, it's got to be mine.
Yeah.
And so I did the hard work of asking the difficult questions.
Yeah, I know you
right?
did. I know you did.
It was uncomfortable because obviously even my relationship with my parents had changed for that time period and shifted. But I wasn't willing to compromise saying that I need to own this for myself.
Yes.
Right? And whichever way it comes out on whatever side it's going to come out. And I asked the questions. I talked to people who had different beliefs. I remember my mom came into my room one time and I had a book on Islam on the side of the bed. And I could see that she was looking at it thinking, oh no, is he going to become a Muslim, right? She was worried about that sort of stuff. And I think what changed for me as I went through this study and as I went through this understanding, I got to a point, one, that I appreciate other people's beliefs, for one.
Yes.
I didn't have to agree,
Yes.
but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But secondly, I realized that there were so many things in my faith that I just completely disagreed with.
Yeah.
That I think were taught to me and were a misunderstanding and misrepresentation in the scriptures.
Yeah.
And so through that journey, I actually had become more confident in my faith. And so nobody at this point can come to me and tell me how I'm supposed to believe and how I'm supposed to live in my faith. And so now that becomes an outflow and a confidence when I talk about it.
Yeah, I can tell.
So we gotta do the hard work.
Yeah.
And this is from a faith perspective, but it could be anything. Your belief on marriage, your belief on work, your belief on health, your belief on real estate.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is,
Yeah.
but take the time, do the hard work, find out what it is that we believe about that thing or you believe about that thing, and then live your life accordingly. And it will be much easier for you in that particular vein or stream or journey that you're choosing.
Amen, fam. And I agree 100%. It doesn't have to be hard or difficult. It just has to be simple, fam. Break it to smaller tasks. If you want to go for a walk, just start off by putting on your clothes, then going downstairs, then putting on your shoes, then going outside, then walk to the closest stop sign, then you're going to walk to the next stop sign, then turn back and go home. There, you went for a walk. You don't have to make it difficult.
You don't
Make it simple, but make it.
make it.
Do it.
You know what? I saw a quote, and I'll read this for you. So if you have a pen and paper, write this one down, guys. It
definitely.
says, I will not necessarily win immediately, but definitely. Right? So the success or whatnot may not happen overnight,
Yes.
but the commitment to seeing it all the way through means I'm definitely gonna get there.
Yes.
Like I'm definitely gonna get the lesson. That's the direction I'm going. This is where I want to end up, right? And so, as you said, you want to go for a walk. You want to grow in confidence. You want to grow in skill. It's not necessarily gonna happen overnight, but you've already committed to the journey, right? And to get started, to do the thing, to do the work, and it won't happen immediately, but it will definitely. Just keep going and keep walking through the process.
Most definitely, fam. And what I would like you to do at this point is just review everything we went through, because it's important that we condense this episode just to make sure we give you as much value as possible in a concise time period. So just break down, just go through the review of what we went through already, because we dropped some heat.
There was some bombs in
Yes,
there.
sir.
I know, man. So we talked about a few things. I'm just riffing from the top here. We talked about origin, purpose, destiny, where I am, where I came from, why I'm here, and where I'm going.
Yes.
Okay, so those are some of the questions that you may want to do the hard work.
Yes.
Taking some time alone, sitting down, asking yourself the difficult questions, right? Understanding who you are, right? And what you truly believe as an individual. Also, from a practical component, go back. Look at your family history. Find, dig, ask questions, because our history does not start with slavery. As a black man, as a black woman, right? Our history does not begin with slavery. And so you can go back, find about your great-grandparents if you can, right? Maybe you're going to do one of the DNA tests and find out a little bit about where you're from overall.
Absolutely.
And that will give you some insight into the type of people, the type of stock that you come from, right? And that will inspire you.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, for all of our viewers, black, white, Indian, Asian, European, mixed, for the black diaspora, we're African, okay? Because my son, he's 4 years old. I go, what color are you? He goes, I'm brown. And I go, you were brown. But based on I think it was in the 40s or the 50s, they gave everybody like, you're black, you're brown, you're yellow, you're red, we're white. That's all BS. We're human.
Yep.
We're of African origin.
Yes.
So we weren't slaves. We were enslaved.
Yes.
There's a difference. So a lot of my friends, like I have a friend whose last name is Lee. I have another one who's Wong. It's like, bro, I've been Wong for 300 years.
Right.
So their history and their origin, their purpose, meaning, and where they're going has already been solidified.
Established.
For us, my last name is Miles. That's actually an Irish last name. My mom's last name is Paul. That's also another English or something like that last name. Our language that we speak, English, is not our original language. We've learned language. Even our religion, we've learned based on slavery. Because we were enslaved by Christian slave owners. So it's a whole thing that you have to know your history and know why you think the way you did, which is very important that Leighton had said. He wants to know why he believes in certain things. And in thinking that led him to who he is now, because he went to school for theology. So it's not like he's just pretending or watching a documentary. Like, he studied this. So the key is his level of faith has discipline behind it, because he had to discipline and go to school, right?
Do the work.
So that's just one example. But what we're doing with this podcast, like, yeah, it's fun, it's entertaining, but it's the real thing is the value.
Yes, 100%, man. This is what we bring each and every episode. We bring the energy, we bring the value, we bring the stories.
Yes.
We also bring the challenges, right? If you're listening to this, if you haven't gone through it, or you say you haven't gone through it, I doubt it. But if you say you haven't, you will. You will go through these moments. You will have to face yourself in the mirror one day. When you look at yourself and you say, man, I sold out to myself. Why? Why did I compromise there? Right? Why didn't I stand up for myself there? Why am I, laying down? Right? Why am I taking the easy way out? Right? And once again, this is why this episode is so important for Jamal to share, his experience and what he's going through right now. I mean, once again, facing it directly. Right? Like, you hear he's hiccuping right now. He's going through it. But at the same time, he's made a decision that I'm not going to use it as an excuse. So if you're listening to this as well, right, we don't have excuses.
No.
If you have, your health, and you have a roof over your head, and you have a family, you have a full-time job, there's no excuses. Right? And, once again, if you look back at your legacy, I'm sure you're going to find people in your history who've had tough times and made it through those adverse times. And you should use that as inspiration the same way Jamal did.
100%. And I'm not trying to impress anybody. I want to impress upon you. If I can do this, then you can too. I'll outwork any able-bodied person because I believe in my natural talents and abilities. And the only way you can beat me is if you train like me. Straight up and down. And if you can't go all the way and be confident in putting your life on the line, fam, like, you got to bet on yourself. Like I always tell Leighton, if somebody else can do it, then I can too. I just have to figure out a way to make it work in what works best for me. And I encourage you guys to do that too. We're still growing. We're on IG. We're on which is Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify, and this is just the beginning.
It's just the beginning, guys.
Like and subscribe.
Share.
Talk to your fam, friends.
Do what you want to do. Create a flyer, post it out. Right? We're here to inspire. We're here to grow. We're here to develop everybody, each and every person that listens to it. So if you got inspiration and value from it, you know that the people close to you will as well. And if you love them, you will want the same and the best for them too. So definitely get this message out, and hopefully, and I believe it will, I don't hope, actually I know it will make a difference in their life.
Absolutely, fam. You guys be peace and blessed. Stay safe, and always remember, you can always make money back. You can't get time back.
100.
You want to close off in a prayer, brother?
I do. Let us close off in a prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for this day that me and my brother, we can get together and we can talk and we can share and we can inspire, and we trust and believe that you have given us that inspiration, that insight, that wisdom that can make a difference in the listeners' lives, Father, and those around them. I pray that they will always be inspired. I pray that they will grow, that they will be better, that they will do better, and make an impact in the community around them. So we thank you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.